we've got. Let's see what we've got here. Usually they're too loud, you know. Harmoniums are too loud, so the voice too high.
You need a microphone?
Microphone, maybe later. I was told to just start budget. Just start on the car or something. What time's class start? 4:30. Let's do that for now.
You got that one? Yes.
I was told just start doing some chanting there. Manu is meaning time? How long does that go?
Maybe another 5 minutes.
Another 5 minutes.
Yeah, to around about
Oh.
No,
I
everything.
could do Radha Madhava and then Krishna after.
Okay.
So what time class starts?
Yeah, starts about 4:10 to 5. Because
Jai Radha Jai So, been asked here by my guru to say a few words. So,
Just a quick introduction.
no.
Tadiksha Prabhu has been a member of ISKCON for over 40 years. He was the first person who brought the rat cart here in 1983. So the first 88, the first rat that ever happened in Dublin was because of Tadiksha Prabhu, and every other one since then he's brought as well. So he looks after the rat cart for the 3 rat carts in London for the last over 20 years, and also he's in charge of the BBT in the UK for many years as well. So now he's kind of responsible for literally millions of books going out in the UK over that time. So he presents himself very humbly, but actually he has a huge CV. So we're very honoured to have him here. Haribol!
Okay, so I thought I'd just talk about a few things. So I'll just chant some invocation first. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Namo Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sunyavani Paschatadeshatare Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Prasad Gauravanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So, I thought I'd just say a few things about the holy name, why we chant Hare Krishna. Because quite often we just chant, we don't necessarily think about, why or what or how. So, we've actually forgotten Krishna. That's why we're here in this material world. We all have an eternal relationship with Krishna, but somehow we forgot. And when you forget, then we also forget who we are. We see ourselves. Sometimes I've been on the street giving out books, and I say to someone, when you look in the mirror, who do you see? And they say, oh, well, me. And you say, no, this is not you. This is your material body. You're the spirit soul within the body. And you might say to someone else, who are you? Who do you think? Who are you? Oh, I'm a coal miner from Rotherham. No, you're not. You're the spiritual essence within the body. And that spiritual essence has an identity. That's why we all have a different fingerprint. Because the soul has entered the body, and every soul is different, has its own personality. And so a different fingerprint comes, because it's an external manifestation of that. It's manifesting like that. So we've forgotten who we are spiritually, and we think we're someone in this material world. And we've forgotten our relationship with Krishna, which eternally exists. Everyone has an individual relationship with Krishna, a personal relationship. And that personal relationship, there's one thing in that relationship that we can do for Krishna, one service in the spiritual world, which no one else can do. It's our special service to Krishna. And we've forgotten it. Somehow we've managed to forget. And we end up in this material world not knowing who Krishna is, not knowing who God is, and not knowing who we are. And so, in every yuga, there's what's called a yuga dharma. It's a process by which we can remember Krishna, by which we can re-establish our forgotten relationship. So we're not converting anyone to Krishna consciousness. We are rebirthing. We are rebirthing people. We're showing people who they really are. We're showing people who is Krishna. And so in every yuga, there's a process for doing that. And in the Kali Yuga, there is so much trouble. We have trouble with relationships, we have trouble with people, we have trouble with the body, material world. There's so much trouble. Everywhere there's trouble. And so, Krishna has made it very easy for us in the Kali Yuga that we can just chant his names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, the way it works, one has to kind of look at things from a slightly different paradigm. The way it works is that by association with something, you pick up those qualities of that thing. So in the winter, sometimes we're walking down the street, and our feet, they pick up the quality of coldness from the pavement. Has anyone experienced that? On a very cold day, you're walking down the street, your feet pick up that quality of coldness. So by association with something, one picks up the qualities of that thing. So Krishna, he is present within his name as transcendental, a spiritual sound vibration. So this is a little bit of a shift in paradigm about how we think about things. In the material world, there is a difference between an object and its sound vibration. For instance, the word water. If we chant water, 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 it doesn't quench our thirst. Because in the material world, the object and its name, its sound vibration, are different. We understand what they are, but they're different. You know, if you chant water, water, water in front of an empty swimming pool, you dive in, you're going to crack your head. You know, it doesn't work. It's not like that. The material world is a world of duality. So, on the spiritual platform, it's different. There's no difference between the word Krishna and Krishna himself. So the sound vibration. The sound vibration is non-different to Krishna. When we chant the word Krishna, we chant this Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, then we're associating directly with Krishna. And the soul is always pure. In the material body, the soul is always pure. Like a diamond. They said the example is like a diamond in a clod of mud. The mud is covering the diamond. When you wash the mud away, the diamond is pure. It's shining. It's like that. So, when we're chanting, we're associating with Krishna. Gradually, that mud is getting cleared away from the soul. And that mud is in the form of material conditioning. By association, just like association with Krishna, when we associate with this material world, we pick up the qualities of this material world. We pick up lust, anger, greed. So many bad qualities are covering the soul. But we're not, as a spirit soul, we're not touched by that. But we think we are, because we're looking out through this material body. And we think we're this, we think we're a man, we think we're a woman, we think we're this, we think we're that. But actually we're none of those things. We're a pure spirit soul with our personality. And we're not the body. There's so many religious traditions, so many cultures are giving philosophies, but practically none of them are teaching that we're not this material body. It's a very great asset of this Vedic philosophy, to understand that we're not the body. So this chanting, by association with Krishna, we're picking up those qualities of Krishna. And as we do so, these bad qualities are being washed away from our consciousness, from our thinking, from our mind, like that. Another example is like an onion. Has anyone peeled an onion? And there's one layer, and then underneath there's another layer, and there's another layer. So these bad qualities can be seen like that, like the shells of an onion. And we're gradually showing them away with the Maha Mantra. The more we associate with Krishna directly, like that, then the more we're clearing our consciousness. So again, we will see Krishna, and we will experience who we really are. That is the goal. There are so many charities in the world trying to do good. But ultimately, one has to come back to this material world, not only for bad karma, but for good karma as well. Good karma also entangles us in this material world, that we have to come back to accept that good reaction. But when we give Krishna in the form of spiritual food, which is offered to Krishna, there is no karma. It's karma free. We have karma free diet. So there's no reaction. It frees one from this material world, both for the giver and the taker, or the receiver. Otherwise, if we have some regular food distribution and it's not offered to Krishna, it's not spiritual food, it's not become karma free, then we have to come back. The giver and the receiver have to come back to receive the karma in another life. So gradually, by this process of chanting, we are clearing the consciousness, we're clearing our karma, we're clearing the consciousness of the material association, of the bad qualities. And this is a great gift, actually. The Vaishnavas, they wander around this material world, selflessly giving this gift of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, how many lives will we carry on in this material world? Birth after birth after birth. Forgetting who we are and experiencing mundane pleasure and pain, round and round and round. It's like we don't know. By our consciousness, it's destined what body we get in the next life. So if our consciousness has become purified, become spiritual, then we don't take another material body. We have an eternal spiritual body, existing even now. That body exists, but we can't see it because we're contaminated by the qualities of the material world. So this is how the Maha Mantra works. One comparison can be given to wood, one analogy. So within wood, we find the quality of fire. You understand? Mm-hmm. It's a perfect solar battery, actually. People want all these solar batteries, but wood is a solar battery. It's very interesting. You can make furniture out of it, you can build houses, you can build carts for horses, you can build plows. You can do so many things with wood. And when it's worn out, and it's no use anymore, what you built with it, you can burn it, and the energy comes back out from the sun. You can use it for cooking, for heating, what you need to do. So wood is an amazing product of the world to use. So the example is within wood, there's the quality of fire. So that quality is there. So we can compare the soul in the material body to like fire within the wood. So we have a spiritual, just like the quality of fire, we have a spiritual quality, the soul. So how do we bring that out? How do we bring that out? Like our body is like the wood, and the soul is like the fire within the wood. So how do we bring that body? How do we bring fire out of wood? Who can say?
By bringing it closer to the fire.
You have to touch it with fire. So likewise, to bring out our spiritual qualities, then we have to touch spirit. Just like when you touch fire to wood, then the fire comes out of the wood. So similarly, when we're touching Krishna through the Maha Mantra, we're touching the spiritual quality, then again, the spiritual quality comes out of us, like that. And it's a very interesting analogy, because everyone is different. Some people, you only need like dry wood. You just have to touch a little bit of fire. Poof, it goes, you know. So we see some people, they come to the temple and they just chant a little bit. They're really into it. They're experiencing. How the process works. And other people, they may come for many times, like damp wood or wet wood. You know, it takes a lot. You know, it takes longer to bring out the fire. You see. But if you keep on applying fire, the wood will always catch in the end. So we just have to persist. We may not feel much result from chanting Hare Krishna, but for sure, if you keep on doing it, eventually there will be a result. Eventually one will feel some relief in this material world like that. I'm not sure, how long does this talk go for usually? You know? So,
5:30.
5:30. So, it's very interesting. So this is how the Mahamantra works. We're contacting Krishna, like that, with transcendental sound vibration. And this is how the mantra works. And Krishna's just made it so easy for us in the Kali Yuga. So, next thing that we find in Krishna consciousness is we find the deity. Now, our lost relationship with Krishna, we're not able to see Krishna until we become completely purified. So Krishna, he very kindly appears in his deity form. So what's all that about? So Krishna's deity form, like any relationship, is based on some kind of reciprocation. So in this way, the deity comes, and we're able to reciprocate, to offer flowers, offer prasad, offer food. All these things become spiritualized. We're associating with Krishna in his deity form. Incense is offered, flowers are offered, pictures of Krishna. All these things we're associating with Krishna. And again, this helps to bring out that spiritual nature within ourselves, like the fire from the wood. So we see these deities. So what makes them different from anything else? How come Krishna is in this form, but also, like this microphone? So we understand, for instance, every atom, at the heart of every atom, there is Krishna. He's present at the heart of every atom. So, at the heart of the atoms is a deity. Krishna is there, is Paramatma. He's also there in this microphone. You see? Paramatma is there, Krishna is there in every atom. But if I start worshipping this microphone, the guys in the white coats are going to come and take me away, you see? On the old microphone. So what makes the deity Krishna directly, but the microphone not? So it's to do with the Vedic scriptures. In the Vedic scriptures, as a part of the Vedas, they describe the proportions of Krishna, like how big his eyes are in proportion to his head and his nose and mouth. The Stampati scriptures. Anyway, so those who know these scriptures, these ancient scriptures, in India, they're able to carve the deities, the deity form of the Lord. So the specific dimensions, proportions, like the eyes, the nose, the ears, the size of the body, the head, all these things. And then the form of the Lord is made very strictly according to these dimensions, these ratios. And then the spiritual master, or a saintly Vaishnava, who's on that kind of level, they can invite the Lord, officially recognize, well, this is the form of the Lord. And of course, Krishna is there as Paramatma in every atom of that deity, but it's formally recognizing that. And that is so that we can again worship Krishna, we can again serve Krishna, or reciprocate with Krishna, to reawaken our lost relationship with Him. So this is how the deity works. And there's deities of Lord Chaitanya who came to bring the Yoga Dham. There's deities of Krishna and Radha and Rama and Lord Nrsimhadev. So many deities are here. In order that we can reawaken that forgotten relationship that we have eternally with Krishna. So then we come to the form of Lord Jagannath. Now, one may ask, how is he Krishna? How is Balaram Balaram? How is Subhadra Subhadra? Because they don't look like Krishna and Balaram and Subhadra. So how come is this? So there's the short story and the long one. So I don't know whether I should do both. We'll start with the short story. So once upon a time in the Satya Yuga, there was a great king called King Indradyumna, and he wanted to worship Nila Madhava. Nila Madhava means blue Krishna. So he wanted to worship this form of Krishna, two-armed form. Now in the Satya Yuga, Krishna doesn't appear as two-armed. He appears as four-armed, as Vishnu. But still, King Indradyumna, he wanted this deity. Now there's a whole story, and we'd be here for 2 hours if I was to tell us the whole story. But he commissioned a carpenter to carve the forms of Jagannath. Jagannath is Krishna. Jagannath simply means Lord of the Universe. And the English word juggernaut for a large truck, it comes from this word Jagannath. Juggernaut. It's the same word. And he commissioned this carpenter. And this carpenter, actually, I'll tell you a little bit more. There was a large log became manifest on the beach at Jagannath Puri. And they couldn't get anyone to carve this log. All the carpenters, their chisels would break. And so eventually an old man who came along and says, I'll carve these deities for you. But on the one condition, he said, and the condition is that you don't disturb me. You leave me in a locked room for 21 days, and you don't disturb me. If you do, I'll just, you know. So the king agreed, yeah. And they brought the log, and they locked him in this locked room. They put him in this room and locked the door. And the king could hear, you know, the chipping of the chisel, you know, like that. He could hear the carpenter working away. He was a very old man, actually. He was called Ananta Maharana, and he was the architect of the demigods. He was Vishwakarma. Vishwakarma, you see. So anyway, the king could hear him chipping away at the deities. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And the king's pacing up and down. Oh, I wonder what's happening. You know, he's an old man. I wonder if he's okay. So he couldn't hear anything. He's pacing up and down outside the room. And eventually the king broke down the door. And the carpenter had disappeared. And there were these half-carved deities of Krishna and Balaram and Subhadra there. His sister Subhadra and Balaram, his brother. These half-carved forms were there. At that point, the king, he became really morose. Oh, what have I done? You know, I disturbed him, and now there's only this half-carved forms here. You know, what am I going to do? I've ruined the whole thing. At that moment, his spiritual master appeared. He's a great sage, Narada Muni. So he's this great sage. He travels around the universe, and he's always chanting in the Gavina, Radha, Radha, you know, like that. Radha, he's chanting like this. And he appeared, and he says, my dear king, he says, do not worry. He says, even though they're not finished forms, they're still Krishna. So you must paint them and make outfits, and Krishna is there, like that. So that's the short answer. So he arranged like that with a big temple, and like that. But there was another complementary understanding of this form. You see. So we experience different emotions in this material world. They're a shadow of the emotions of the spiritual world. They're far greater in the spiritual world. Like sometimes if you become surprised by something, your eyes will get bigger, or you'll giggle, you know, or something out of nerves, or something, or you'll, you know, if there's a bit of a shock or something, you shudder like this, and your arms come in like that. So we've all experienced these emotions, or we've seen them in others, and so there's a story that Krishna and he was living in Vrindavan with all his friends, cowherd girls and cowherd boys. And when he got older, he went to the city of Dwarka. He became the king of Dwarka. And he had many, many wives. He had 16,108 wives. But he expanded himself into 16,108 Krishnas. Now we hear some devotees and some people in the material world, they're saying, oh, I'm going to have more than one wife. I have 2 wives. I have 4 wives. I can have many, many wives. I'm a rich man, you know. But they can't do what Krishna did. Krishna expanded himself into 16,108 Krishnas. So let's see someone who wants more than one wife in the material world. Let's see them expand themselves into the number of wives that they want. I challenge them. You want 2 wives? We're going to see 2 of you. Then you can. So Krishna is different. He can do anything. We cannot limit Krishna by our mundane minds. The definition of God is he can do anything he likes. He can do anything and everything. Much more beyond our conception. Our tiny pea brains, they can only conceive of so much. There are so many things in this world, in this universe, which are far beyond our even understanding and conception and anything. So Krishna, he was the king of Dwarka. And in the last age, people lived to be 1,000 years old. Now, if we read the Bible, we'll see that Noah and his relatives, they lived to be 900 years old, 800 years old, like this. The Christians, they can't understand it. They say, oh, there must be something wrong in the translation or something like that. But we can understand that Noah and his ark in the Bible, that happened in the past age. Before 5,000 years ago, it was the dwarf age. It was a different age. And people lived to be 1,000 years old. So Krishna, he left Vrindavan when he was young, and he became the king of Dwarka. And he was 120 years old, but he looked like a young man, because he lived to be 1,000 years old anyway. So he looked like a young man. But he'd been away from his cowherd friends in Vrindavan for 100 years. They hadn't seen him. So anyway, the story goes that the queens of Dwarka, they wanted to understand the love that the cowherd boys and girls had for Krishna. It was a very intimate relationship they had. And the queens of Dwarka, the 16,108 wives, they wanted to understand, what is this relationship that these people have? We don't have it. It's so far beyond what we have. And so they sent a messenger to Vrindavan to report on the gopis, the cowherd girls, to report on how their relationship with Krishna is, and what they were thinking and talking about. Because they were just talking and reminiscing about Krishna all the time. And so this messenger came back, and all the wives of Krishna in Dwarka, they captured him, and they locked him in a big hall. They were all in there, and they demanded, we want to hear all the pastimes about Krishna, about his love for the gopis, and love for his devotees. And they put Subhadra on the door, to guard the door, in case Krishna came along. And Subhadra was listening, through the keyhole or something. She was hearing these narrations about the greatness of these devotees. And she started to experience these symptoms of ecstatic love of God, where the eyes will become enlarged. Just like I explained, we can have those emotions. Sometimes something shocks us. It's like that. And her arms, they contracted like this. And she had a big smile. She was ecstatically in love, ecstatic symptoms of love of God she was experiencing there. And then Krishna Balaram came along, and he also saw Subhadra like that, and he listened at the door, and he also experienced these symptoms where his eyes got big, and his arms became like this, and his big smile like that. And then Krishna came along, the same thing happened to him. So the other explanation is that Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra are Krishna, Balaram and Subhadra, experiencing ecstatic love. And that's that mood of Rath Yatra. And the very first Rath Yatra, it happened about that time. So when there's a solar eclipse, it's considered a time of danger. And at a time of danger, everyone, they don't want to die. They want to leave their body in the holy Dham. They want to go to some holy place if they think there may be some, they've got to hedge your bets. You know what I mean? So they all shoot off to. There's some danger comes, and everyone shoots off to the holy Dham, the holy places, in case just in case. So there was a solar eclipse. So solar eclipses, they're considered a time of danger. Sometimes there's earthquakes and things like that. Because all the planets, when there's an eclipse, all the planets are lined up. So the gravity is pulling like that. And sometimes we see, you know, there's some eclipse and sometimes there's an earthquake or something happens. So it came to this point, there was forecast, as astrologers they could see, there was going to be this big solar eclipse. So all the cowherd boys and cowherd girls from Vrindavan, they went to a holy place called Kurukshetra. I think it's about 90 miles north of Delhi. It's the place where the Battle of Kurukshetra took place, which is the setting for speaking of the Bhagavad Gita. So they went to this holy place, they took the cows with them and they set up a camp over in the forest. And also, Krishna and his 16,108 wives and all their entourage and servants, they came all the way from Dwarka to Kurukshetra. And they set up this great, like a city almost, on the other side of Kurukshetra. But when the cowherd boys and girls, they heard that Krishna and Balaram and Subhadra had arrived, they hadn't seen them for 120 years. So they ran over to the camp where Krishna was, and they just arrived. And Krishna was on his chariot, and Subhadra was on her chariot, and Balaram was on her chariot, on his chariot. And so they grabbed the chariots and they dragged them all the way. They stole them. It was a symbolic thing. Oh, we're going to steal Krishna. So they stole them and they dragged them all the way to their little encampment on the other side of Kurukshetra. So that was the first Rath Yatra. So when we celebrate Rath Yatra, that mood, Krishna is in the mood of ecstatic love. And that is that special mood that we experience on Rath Yatra. And it's one of the fundamental activities that Srila Prabhupada introduced with the Krishna consciousness movement. He introduced his holy name, he introduced the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita. He taught us deity worship, and he introduced Rath Yatra. Of course, he didn't actually introduce it himself. Krishna introduced himself in San Francisco. In 1967, Malati, one of the early devotees, she was in an Indian shop, an import shop, and she saw this little Indian doll. It was an Indian doll. Some say it was Jagannath, some say it was Balaram. Yeah, we don't know which. And she took it to Srila Prabhupada and said, "What is this?" And Prabhupada said, "Oh, you have brought Jagannath." And he folded his palms and he offered a obeisance. He said, "Oh, Jagannath has come." So her husband, Shama Sundar, they asked him to carve the deities of Jagannath. And they had the first Rath Yatra in San Francisco in 1967. It was the first Rath Yatra outside India. So then, I think the second set was that they have just Jagannath in Montreal, I think, just by himself. But Shama Sundar and his wife and two other couples, they came to England in 1969. And Shama Sundar, first thing they wanted to open a temple in London. But the first thing they did is that Shama Sundar wanted to have Rath Yatra in London. And they hadn't got deities. And so Shama Sundar, I asked him some questions actually about how the deities came to London. Where does he carve them? They're the same as the San Francisco deities. And I asked him, how did they come? What happened? What's the story? And he said, well, this is before internet. You couldn't just tap your phone and say, oh, there's a wood yard here, we've got this wood the right size, we just come order it on Amazon or something, You couldn't do that. There was no such thing. It was phone books. We had phone books, and it had like wood yards, and you had to, it was a long process. You had to go to the library. And in the library, in the reference section, there'd be phone books for the whole country. So you could go through every city in yellow pages and look for them. So he couldn't get any timber big enough to carve Jagannath. So he looked in the yellow pages, he phoned up wood yards as far away as Birmingham, like a 100-mile radius of London. He was phoning up all the different wood yards, timber merchants. I need this wood, I need it this size, I need this timber to, no, we haven't got it. And then one timber merchant, he said, you could try down in the old docks in the East End of London. So in '69 the docks were still going in London. The London docks are massive there. They've now moved out further, got container port further out at Tilbury. But at that time, the London docks were still alive and kicking. And it said, you go down to the East End of London, and there's a place there, they break up old wooden barges. And he said, maybe they'll have some timber that is right, that is good to make chugger. So he went there, and they were breaking up some Canadian barges. And it was the same redwood, the Canadian redwood that he carved the deities in San Francisco from. It was that same type of timber. And it was in the keel of the boat. So the keel is in the middle of the ship. It goes down the front, right along the bottom, and up the back. It's called the keel. And that timber was big enough to make the deities from. And so he bought some of that timber and he carved the London deities. And the first Rath Theatre in London was 1969. And there's been one there every year since, apart from COVID, not 2020. So it's interesting because the Jagannath deities in Jagannath Puri, originally they appeared from a log that came from the ocean. And so in London it's the same. The log was part of this ship that had been towed across the Atlantic Ocean to the east end of London. Delivered. Lord Jagannath delivered himself via the Atlantic Ocean all the way straight into the centre of London. And that's how he appeared in London. So there's many stories. So anyway, it's 5:30, is it? We stop there? No. 4:30.
5:45.
5:45. Okay, questions. Anyone got questions? Before we have questions, I just say, who's got these beads for chanting with japa? Who's got hands up? Who's got them? Okay. So if anyone hasn't got them, it's really good. I recommend it. If you just chant around them once, it's only 7 minutes. If you can do that every day, your life will change. Of course, if you don't want your life to change, but if you're quite happy with, birth, disease, old age, death, if you're quite happy with that, But if you want to do a little experiment, because there's nothing to lose, then you get some of these beads, and the devotees will show you how to chant, to this personal chanting, associating with Krishna. 7 minutes just to go around them once. I definitely recommend it, and I have beads here that you can get from the devotees here. And there's one book, which is a really nice book, which explains a lot of the things I've been talking about. And it's called The Science of Self-Realization. You've got that? The Science of Self-Realization. It's interviews with Prabhupada, and it's interviews with people asking him the very questions that we ask, the very questions that I was asking when I first came into contact with Krishna consciousness in 1978. I was asking these questions, and the devotees, it was a new book. They said, we just got this new book, 1978. They said, Science of Self-Realization, and I bought a copy. And it really helped me understand Krishna consciousness. It's very basic, easy reading. Sometimes the books we have, they're very scientific, philosophical, scientific, they're not so easy to read sometimes. But the Science of Self-Realization, you can pick it up anywhere, it's all separate little chapters. You can just pick up anywhere, read a page, put it down. It's so easy to read. And I really recommend this book, The Science of Self-Realization. So, okay, questions? So everyone agrees? You're going to chant Hare Krishna?
Yes.
You're going to chant japa beads? You're going to get
Yes.
some? Everyone going to get some beads?
Yes.
So there's no questions?
Yes. Thank you so much for the lecture. Prabhuji, you said that we need to associate with the Lord, and the more we associate, we become purified. So by chanting and following the process, I'm pure than before, at least for sure. But I associate with this world as well. So how to not get affected?
So the question is that he chants Hare Krishna and he's feeling some benefit, some spiritual things are coming, but he's having to associate with the material world. So again, how does he kind of reconcile those two things? So if we chant 16 rounds a day and we try and read Prabhupada's books, we try and associate with Krishna like that, then we're protected. We can be protected from this material world. Krishna, he helps us. God is kind, he's very kind, and his devotees are even kinder because they're just wandering through this world, freely giving Krishna. It's only by the kindness of the devotees that we know about Krishna. And they will give you all help. But just by chanting and trying to do something, ultimately, we want to pass that gift on that we got. We got this gift of Krishna consciousness. We got this gift to understand that we're not this body, that we're pure spirit soul. We got this gift to get us out of this material world. So naturally, one wants to share that gift with others. So if you can begin to share the gift with others somehow, by giving some prasadam to people at work, some cookies, or giving some books, something like that, then we're surely protected from the material world. It's a necessary thing. You know, like Jesus Christ, he said you can be in the world, but not of it. So we can wander around this world trying to remember Krishna. And Krishna will help us like that. So it's Prabhupada said, wherever you find yourself in life, whatever situation you are, whatever part of this planet you're on, you can sit down and pull out your beads and chant. You know, but whatever you do, whatever you are, you add Krishna to it. And then gradually, Krishna adjusts everything for you. It's not some quick fix. You know, one has to practice. And just like if you want to be an Olympic athlete, you know, there may be some diet you have to follow, there may be some things that you have to restrict yourself from in order to make the process quicker. So we have these things, you know, no illicit sex, no meat eating, you know, no intoxication, no gambling. So these are recommendations that if you want to advance quickly, like an Olympic athlete, if they want to advance quickly, then if they follow some recommendations, you know, then it comes quicker, it comes easier, like that. So there's that. So if we just carry on doing our best, you know, in Krishna helps. And at some point, see, in the material world, if you have a gift, someone gives you a big gift, £1 million, you know, and you're thinking, well, you know, I'd like to give some of this to others, you know. But you give some to others and you get less yourself. You know, you're left with half. You say you give half of it away, you're left with half. And you give more away. You want to give it away. You feel you want to give. It's natural for the soul to want to give. Naturally we're kind. But we have to protect ourselves in the material world, so we have to build all these walls and this and that. So in the material world, if you have a gift, and you give some of it away, then the gift gets smaller. That's material. But spiritually, one from one is still one. In other words, you can give the gift of Krishna to others, and your gift actually gets bigger. It's the storehouse of love of God. The more you give Krishna to others, the more your own Krishna consciousness expands. So it's actually, this movement is about being kind to others, trying to help people who've lost their way in this material world. So many people, they're just suffering. They're innocent. Prabhupada said most of the population are innocent. They just don't know. They just don't know what to do, what not to do. They're just trying their best to kind of muddle through Kali Yuga. And they're suffering so much. So the devotees, we just want to help them. We just want to give Krishna. We got the gift, so we want to give it. Simple.
Could you tell us a few instances of when you about being protected by Krishna in your various and you know how Krishna helped you in kind of difficult situations? Because I know you've been traveling all over this amazing cart all around Europe, and what to speak of in central London where there's so many restrictions there.
Don't know where to start really. A lot of things. One time we used to do Rath Yatra from Hyde Park to Battersea Park, across the river in South London. Yeah. And one time we used to have these very heavy ramps to load the truck load the cart onto the truck. And these heavy steel ramps, it took 3 of us to lift these things. You had to kind of get the cart up onto these steel ramps and then back the truck underneath to transport it. And usually what happens with festivals, I mean, if you want to really help the devotees, then come at the end of a festival and help clear, because that's when everyone goes home usually. And the devotees are just left, just struggle away trying to clean up afterwards. So if you really want to help, come to the end of the festival. Anyway, so as usual, myself and 2 other devotees who brought the cart down, everyone else went home. It was dark, and it's by the river Thames. And a mist had come down on the park, and it was misty, and it was nearly dark, and you could hardly see anything. And Rath cart work is quite physical, really. It's heavy work. It took 3 of us to lift one of these. At the end of the festival, we just couldn't lift them. We had it, I mean, I was only 26 or something. I was a young guy, I shouldn't be, but we had it. We just couldn't do it. And all of a sudden, we saw this shadow, this huge guy coming out of the mist. And he said, "Oh, you're having trouble there?" And it took 3 of us to lift these things, and he just picked them up by himself, put them on the truck. And he just wandered off into the mist. I don't know who he was, though. That's one story. Another time, this is in the 90s, going further back, 1986, I got married in 1986 to a devotee in the Soho Temple in London. And I found out she was so we can make a new canopy for the Rath car, for the chariot. Because the previous one was made out of lorry tarpaulin. You know these curtain-sider trucks? They have this thick plastic. It was thick plastic. It was so heavy, the canopy. The red had gone pale pink in 2 years. It had gone pale pink colour. Because red is a horrible colour to deal with cloth. It always fades. So I thought, okay, let's look around. What can we use? So at that time, sleeping bags and coats and things, they were made out of this stuff called ripstop nylon. It was like a nylon, you had little squares in it, to stop it ripping. And it had a silky look. It looked silky. And we wanted to make the canopy look silky. So there's no internet or anything in those days, and we didn't know where to get it from. We thought maybe they use it for parachutes or something. So we're walking through Covent Garden one day, chanting japa, and we saw this shop called the Kite Shop. And the Kite Shop, with kites, people always fly these kites, and they had kits to make them. And the cloth, I noticed, it was ripstop nylon. So straight in the shop, where do you get this from? There's no internet, so where do you get the ripstop nylon? We want to get some. And the guy said, well, we get stuff which is reject from the parachute and the hot air balloon industry. Because if there's so many mistakes or flaws in the cloth in so many meters, the whole lot gets rejected. because it's unsafe to use. And we needed 5-foot rolls, 60 inches, because we figured that cloth used to come in 1 yard and 5 foot, like 60 inches and 36-inch rolls, all kinds of cloth. So we figured if we had 60-inch cloth, then we'd only have to have one seam, one join up the middle of the canopy. It would be a lot less work, And so we said to them, well, we're looking for, I don't know how many metres it was. We're looking for 50 metres of red and 15 inches of yellow. We want 5 foot. We want 5 foot lengths instead of 3 foot. And the guide said, "Well, I never. We just get whatever. We have a contract. Whatever gets rejected, they just send to us. We don't know what's coming in." And he said he's never seen 60-inch rolls. There's always 3 foot, 36-inch rolls. But he said, "Just come in every now and then. You never know." So a week later, we're walking past the shop. And we went in. The guy nearly fell over. He says, "You never guess what happened? A big roll of yellow came in and a big roll of red." And he said they're 5-foot rolls. I've never seen them like this before. And so we bought the cloth. And then we thought we'd better take him some prashadam. So the next week, we went back with prashadam to go to the shop. And it was all closed and gone. We looked through the window, just bare boards, wooden floorboards. There's some old letters on them being put through. This kind of thing you see a shop. It's just completely empty, there's nothing there. So, that's another story. There's another one. Up until 2004, we only had 1 cart in London. Every year, from 1969 onwards, every year, the cart would only last maybe 1 year, and they'd break. In 2 years they get out and they're great. So in 1982, the devotees, they decided to get an American devotee to come and build a more permanent car. So that's when I got involved, because I was visiting the temple and they were building this car. And so they got me helping with the woodwork on that car in 1982. It was made by an American devotee called Maheshwar, and he was an ex-US Navy engineer. So he knew how to make things strong at last. And so that cart was built like that. And we were using that cart from 82. I ended up joining the London Temple in 83, and my first job was to look after the Rath cart. This one we built in 1982. So I was looking after that. And in between, I spent 10 years in Liverpool. I opened a temple in Liverpool with my wife from 89 to 99. And still, I would look after the Rath cart for London and take it to Leicester and come here. And I always thought it would be nice to have 3 carts, because in Puri, there's a cart for Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra. They all have one, but London, all the Rath Yatras, most of them. In America, they have 3 carts. In some other places, but in Europe there's only one. And I was always thinking like that. And then in 1999 I left Liverpool and went to live near the Manor near London. And I got given the service of running the whole festival, and not just looking after the Rath cart. They got me to look after the whole festival in London. And so we started fundraising. And the first year we did the fundraising, we did the festival, and there was £25,000 left over. And the next year, the same thing. We did the fundraising, we did the festival, there was £25,000 left. And then the third year, the same thing happened. And I'm thinking, what's Jagannath want? He's throwing all this cash at us, he must want something. I'm thinking, what's going on? And it occurred to me that it cost about £25,000 to build a Rath cart. The wheels and everything, and the cloth. I thought, what's going on here? And we used to have to get the permission from the police to do the festival every year. And the police would call us, or we'd have to call the police 3 months before. So in March, we'd have to call the police, go and meet with them, explain we want to do the Rath Yatra again, and then permission and this. So every year, I used to joke with this police officer. that if we had 3 cars, because we had no conception of having 3 cars at that point, we hadn't got any cash, we hadn't got, we used to joke around with him and just say, if we had 3 cars, it would make the procession more manageable. Of course it wouldn't, it's 3 times more difficult. And he would just say, I'm never going to let you have 3 cars, because there's enough chaos with 1. I'm never going to let you have 3. So, anyway, in 2003, the police called us. Normally we'd have to call them 3 months beforehand in March, we'd have to call the police. And then they called us in January. They said, you have to come down to Scotland Yard. We want to know, you want to talk to you about the festival, about Rathiatra. So this is strange. So myself and my colleague, Parana Karuna, we went down to Scotland Yard. And we went in there, I can still remember the police officer's name. It was Inspector Stuart Cornish, the one we used to deal with. We used to joke around with him, So he says, so we go in the room, we sit down, and he says, so how many carts are you going to have this year? And I said, well, 1, And he says, I've been thinking, he said this is like it was his own idea, like we never said anything. He said, I've been thinking, if you had 3 cars, it would make the procession more manageable. And he's like, just said it like that, like it was his idea. And we nearly fell off our chairs, And so, anyway, that happened, and the funding was there. But there was another problem, was that Trafalgar Square used to be a roundabout. I don't know if anyone of you know that Trafalgar Square. The top bit is a big terrace with steps coming down.
Yes.
But previously it was a roundabout. There was 4 lanes of traffic between the National Gallery and the square. So it was like a big roundabout with 4 lanes of traffic going round and round and round. And the only place we could put the car was on the bottom corner. There was only room for 1 on the bottom corner, southwest corner. So in 2003, the authorities that were managing Trafalgar Square, they called us down there for a consultation with the other people who used the square. And they had a model of the square. And at the top was a big terrace, and they put these big steps in and everything. And I immediately thought, wow, I could put 3 Rath carts on top of that. So that's how 3 Rath carts happened in London. Jagannath, he changed Trafalgar Square, so we have somewhere to put them. Jagannath chucked us £75,000 to build them with, and Jagannath changed the police officer's mind. So that's how that happened. So, I mean, I could go on for another however long, but you tell me when to stop.
1 more.
So we were driving one chariot down to Paris, Budapest and Prague. For 25 years we were driving it. When COVID came and Brexit came, then that finished for travelling to Paris and Budapest and Prague. We were doing these 3 European cities. But the first time we went down there, because in the UK, up to 3 metres or just under 3 metres, it's actually 9'6", which is 2.9 metres, is the legal limit before you need to have some special permission to drive. Normal trucks you see, all the trucks you see on the road, they're 2.5 metres. Buses are 2.5 metres wide. So we were 2.9 because it was built to be the biggest you could get, without having to have permission. So 2.9, that's the width for the UK. Now for Europe, it's 2.5, apart from Holland, which is 3. But the rest of Europe is 2.5 metres. We knew this, but in those days there was no internet. I'm talking about 1993. There was no internet, there was no way of knowing what to do. We couldn't find out what we had to do, or how do you get permission in Germany. We didn't speak German. The authorities there, they won't deal with you if you don't speak German. We didn't know what to do. So we just went. This first year we just went. We got the truck, we got on the ferry, we decided we would drive through Belgium. Because France, you had to pay motorway tolls and things like that. So we decided we'd go through Belgium, and what we did, we worked it, so the ferry from Dover got to Zeebrugge, or Zeebrugge. We got there just after dark. So we thought, So we drive through Belgium under cover of darkness and hope we don't get caught over a whip. So we got through, we just kept driving. We were driving non-stop. It was myself and a friend. I was sleeping for 4 hours, right on the seat beside, and he was driving for 4 hours. And then we'd swap over. We'd just tank up with diesel and swap over. And we just did that. We got there in 28 hours actually, right across Europe. But so we got halfway. We got all the way across Belgium under cover of darkness. We got all the way across Germany during the morning and that day and evening. We just didn't stop, just kept going. And we got halfway through Austria, and it was evening. It was about what time was it? It's probably about 7, 8 in the evening. It was just beginning to get dark a little bit, you know. And this friend of mine, he was driving in the middle lane at 65 miles an hour, which is quite fast for a truck. It was more, you're only meant to do 50 miles an hour, 80 km for a truck in Austria. So this unmarked police car pulled us. They pulled us over. They have this little baton, like a stick with a little circle on it. They stick it out the window. And you have to be pulled over. And this Austrian policeman, he gets out and he says, "How wide is this?" How wide? Because they don't say W. They say like Vienna is spelled with a W. So they can't say the W. They say wide. How wide is this? And I say 2.5 meter. And he says, "No, it's wide. It's wide." And we were at the back of the RAF car, and I took 2 big steps. A little one. No, it's 2.5. Look, 1, 2. And he's like, And he says, "Where's the reflectors?" Because you're meant to have these red triangle reflectors, we found out afterwards. But we got little mirrors stuck all over the car, little square mirrors, you know. I'm pointing, no, reflectors. The guy's going crazy. There's this joke amongst the European truck drivers. You know, there's this joke that the first truck going to the moon, you know, he gets to the moon, and there's an English truck driver who's already there, and he's got no documents. So they have this joke. They used to have this joke about the English truckers in Europe. Anyway, so we didn't have any documents. You know, the guy, what document? He wanted the wide load permission. I kept showing him the registration document, the insurance, No, the document. Yeah, look, the document. And the guy was getting more and more upset, you know. And then he ran off to his police car. And, you know, for the Germans, everything has to be proved, everything has to be correct, it has to be perfect, you know. And he opened his briefcase, he shook his briefcase, stuff. He's looking in the boot, he's looking in the glove box. And we thought, what's he doing? And we figured he must be looking for his tape measure to measure us, to actually put. You couldn't prove it without a tape measure, you know. He couldn't find his tape measure. And he came back, ran to the back of the car, and I never seen anyone do this. He just freaked out. He goes, like that. And he gets in his car and just drove off at speed. We thought, well, we just by, you know, on the hard shoulder, we were just sitting there. Oh, I wonder what. I mean, maybe he's gone for reinforcements. So we stood around for 10 minutes or so, and nothing happened. So we just got in there, and we drove out of Austria without stopping. And then the Germans got us on the way back. We got impounded. Coming into Germany at Passau. There's a place called Passau, the junction, Suben is the border on the Austrian, is the border town on the Austrian side, and Passau is the border on the German side. So what they do when they impound you, they just take all your documents off you, everything, passports, a lot. And just, okay, you're here, you can't move until you get permission. So in the morning, the policeman said, in the morning, I'll order a taxi, and he told the taxi driver to take us to this office in Passau. And we got the permission, and then we came back, and then we drove. We had to put some marker boards on, and then we drove up. We got back to the UK. But that was quite a journey. Any more stories?
Yeah. Just maybe one last one. What about? Because I know in in the UK you've been looking after the BBT for such a long time. You know.
I've got an Irish Rathiatra story.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
I've got an Irish one. So the first Rathiatra we did in Ireland was in 1988, and the devotee, for some reason, he arranged the ferry fare, the ferry ticket from Fishguard to Rosslare. So Fishguard is in West Wales. It's a long drive from London, and he knew we were over width. He hadn't got any documents. Again, there were no documents. So we got into Ireland, but when we came back into the UK, the police interrogated us for 5 hours. We were all put in different rooms and interrogated for 5 hours. We thought we were going to get back to the manor for breakfast. We didn't get back till 5 in the evening. So that was a bit of a disappointment, really. But so on the way there, Shauna Rishi, he'd arranged that we had got permission for wide load. And so we had a police car behind us, a Garda. We had one in front and one behind, with flashing lights and everything. We're driving from Rosslare up towards Dublin. So we get as far, I don't know, what county is Rosslare? Wexford. So anyway, we're driving along, you know, the police at the front, you know, flashing lights, the whole thing, blue lights, and there's this thing escorting us. And then they just pulled over. And we realised that was the end of Wexford. So we just carried on by ourselves after that. And we were told by Shauna, he'd given us a piece of paper, and it had a phone number on it. And we were told that when we get near Dublin, call this number, and the devotees will come and get us, and they'll take us to where we're staying. So we carried on. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and we were in this little town just to the south of Dublin. It was, you know, like a typical town. All the kids were out, youngsters everywhere. You know, people drinking. You know, there's this big Rathcar park there. And everyone's, what's this? You know, and, you know, what are you doing here? And it was very interesting because the devotee we had with us, back to Steve, he was a new devotee, and he said that he only believed in astrology and everything is predetermined. You know, there's no such thing as divine intervention. He was convinced the Lord can't intervene. No, it's all there in the stars. You know, there's no such thing. You know. So we are having this discussion all the way down. So we get to this little town. I pull up. I go to the phone box. We didn't have mobile phones, no internet, no mobile phones. You know, it's an old-fashioned phone box. So I phone up this number. It doesn't work. It's broken. You know, what are we going to do? We're sitting there in this town outside Dublin. You don't know where to go or what to do. You know, it's 11 o'clock at night. So I got back in the truck. I asked them. I said to the phone company, "Look, I mean, can you give me the address? You know, because we're meant to go. We're meant to meet the people from here, and we just no. Data protection. They didn't call it data protection. They just said, no, we can't reveal anything about the number. You know, we can't do that. We're not allowed to." So I got back in the Rathcar, in the truck, as my wife was there and back to Steve was there. I just turned the engine off, turned the lights off, folded my arms. I said, "Okay, we've done everything we can. It's up to Juggernaut." And Steve starts freaking out. What are we going to do? We're just stuck here. So within a minute, a car pulled up on the other side of the road, and a devotee, I think he'd left the temple at the time. He wasn't. I don't think he was practicing Krishna consciousness much. He had long hair, and he says, "Is this a Rathcar? Is this just some little town outside Dublin? What's this Rathcar doing here?" He knew what it was. "What's it doing here?" I explained that, well, you know, we're on our way to do the first Rathiatra in Dublin, and we got this phone number and it doesn't work, and we don't know. He says, "Give it to me." Says, "Oh, I know this number, I know the devotees." And so this devotee's name was Nanda Maharaj. It's Nanda Maharaj. Was it Maharaj Nanda? No, Nanda Maharaj.
Yes, it was.
It's Nanda Maharaj. So he says, "Just follow me. You can park at my place and take the rest of my place tonight, and then because it was late, we didn't want to knock up these devotees at midnight. By the time we got to Dublin, it would be midnight, 1 o'clock or something. So he said, "We don't want to disturb them now. You just come and stay with me, and in the morning we're going to..." So I said to him, well, how come you're, he said, well, I never normally come here. He was just driving through this town at 11 o'clock at night. He said, but I left my wallet at a friend's house the night before, and so I had to drive back to get it. And it was within a minute, within 30 seconds or a minute of me folding my arms and saying it's up to Joe. And he just appeared. So then back to Steve, just freaked out. What? Divine intervention. But it's there. Divine intervention is there. In the Nectar of Devotion it says, if you clap your hands in front of the deities, these lines are meaningless. So you can go to a palm reader, they're not going to pick up that you're chanting Hare Krishna. It's spiritual. Astrology is only applicable to the material situation. Yeah, it's one story. Another story. I don't know. I mean, is everyone getting stiff and fed up with sitting still? I don't know.
No.
Oh. Okay, so I was in America in 1986, 87. I was in America. We were checking out the American Festival program, and we went to Detroit. There was an old English devotee there called Boomerdev. He used to be president of the Manor at one time. So Boomerdev, he met up with an Indian devotee who was in a family of Raj Brahmins. So you know these Raj Brahmins? They were the advisors to kings. And they had a thing called the Brigu Yantra. So the story is that Brigu Muni, he wanted to see who was the most powerful. Was it Vishnu? Was it Brahma? Was it Shiva? He wanted to, So I think he kicked Lord Brahma on the chest or something. No. He insulted Lord Shiva, and then Shiva got a bit angry, and something else happened with Lord Brahma. He did something to him, and he didn't behave and then he kicked Lord Vishnu on the chest. Vishnu, okay, smack, kicked him right on the chest. So Lord Vishnu, he grabbed hold of his foot. He said, "My dear Brigu Muni, I hope you haven't hurt your foot." He said, he didn't take any offence. But Lakshmi took offence, and she cursed the Brahmins to always be poor. Of course, my wife doesn't accept this excuse. He cursed the Brahmins to always be poor. Anyway. So, when there's a curse, there's always a positive side to the curse. So the positive side was that she gave them the Brigu Yantra, which was a way of doing astrology, so they could get some donations from doing people's charts and things. So the Brigu Yantra is a metal plate, and it's divided up into the 12 houses. And then you have these little stones that represent the planets. And you ask a question, and you drop the stones onto the yantra, and they fall into the different houses. And then someone who knows astrology, they can read from that, do a reading. So this Raj Brahmin, he had the Brigu Yantra in America. And being America, Boomerdev set up a weekly radio show where they go on the. This is 1986, by the way, it's way back. He had a weekly radio show where they get people to call in and ask the Brigu Yantra questions, and they do the Brigu Yantra and give it. So there were all these kind of there were all these things going on. It was predicted that by 1986, half the population of the world was meant to die of AIDS. This is the astrological calculation. Half the population was meant to die of AIDS, and it didn't happen. Another thing, there was meant to be a forest fire was meant to have engulfed San Francisco, and it just came to the edge, and it didn't happen. It didn't really, it singed a few houses on the edge. It didn't happen. There was another prediction they did, that some aircraft was going to crash and kill hundreds of people. And it just kind of landed and something broke, and skidded along the runway. It didn't happen. So these predictions were not coming true. And the Raj Brahmin, he was getting really disturbed. He said, I don't know what's happening. I can't understand it. The yantra's never been wrong. What's going on? What's happening? And so Bumadev, he consulted with some of the very learned devotees in our movement, some of the sannyasis and the pundits who really understand the scriptures. And what they concluded was, they concluded that the Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is diminishing the karma of the world. There's no other explanation. Just like when you clap your hands in front of the deities, then these lines, they change. They don't physically change, but they don't have the same meaning. So that's an example of how the Sankirtan movement is saving this planet. There should have been a nuclear war by now. There were wars every 20 years. World wars. Nothing. There's small wars. There are wars. Ukraine is suffering really badly at the moment. Gaza, Israel. There is a lot of suffering going on. But it's not nuclear. And it's not worldwide. So we can only conclude, that the Sankirtan movement, by the chanting of Hare Krishna. When we chant Hare Krishna, it goes around the planet. When we chant japa, it's not just for us, we're benefiting the whole planet. So don't think that, I don't need to chant today, it's only for my benefit. It's not. You're benefiting the whole planet when you chant japa. For sure, definitely. Right now, somewhere there's a Mangalati going on. Right now, somewhere there's a Guru Puja. Right now there's a Bhagavatam class. There's Harinam going on all over the world at this time. Devotees are giving out books all over the world. Prasadam is being distributed. It's 24/7. It's having an effect on this planet. So, I just request everyone to please accept this gift of Krishna consciousness and please give it to others. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai!
So thanks to Tiksha Prabhu again, big.
No clapping at the end.
No clapping.
Because it cheapens it.
But even a little Haribol will be okay.
Yeah.
Haribol!
Haribol!
I need to be reminded to chant.
Okay, so now we're going to have the arti Haribol.
Haribol! Jaya Panchatattva yes.
पंचतत्व की
Thank you. Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Iskan Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Nanda Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Vensigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath, Shamakund, Radhakund, Giri Govardhan Ki, Vrindavan Dham Ki, Mayapur Dham Ki, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki, Jamuna Maya Ki, Ganga Maya Ki, Tulsi Devi Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Samadeva Bhaktarinda Ki, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Viratma Dhamma Chandrana Book Distribution Ki, Iskal Ireland Ki, Go Premanande. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. So just before we have the Nishinga Arti, I have just an important announcement. So is everybody listening? Yeah, Hare Krishna. So, we are getting even closer towards buying land to have to build a temple. We are actually extremely close. There's a few hurdles to get over yet. One of the big ones coming up is on the 15th of August, which is the day before Janmashtami, which is amazing. It's the day before Janmashtami. And what it is that we have agreed with the bank that if we have a certain amount of Lakshmi in the account, there is a possibility they will give us the full amount to buy the land. It's very, very close, but it's still, they haven't made the promise, but it's as good as if we get close to this amount, it means that we're in the best possible chance. So once that happens, then we're going to, we've already agreed for a price with the owner, and then there's some other technicalities to come in. We have to do some surveys and so on. But it's very, very close. So a big crunch day is on the 14th of August, which is 2 days before Janmashtami, because the banks are going to make the decision on the 15th of August, which is the day before Janmashtami. The figure that was set, because it just came all of a sudden, we didn't expect to get land so quickly, but it happened. In Lord Nishingadev's appearance day, the land became available. We were first in. We're still on the pole position to be able to buy it. Everything going well, but we weren't expecting to need the amounts that we needed. So it works out. We had 201,000 in the bank about two weeks ago, and we needed 285. So in the last 2 weeks, we've raised over 40,000 euros. Now, if we're in for a chance to try to get the maximum loan of the bank, we need to have 285. Now, it's a big, tall order between now and the 14th of August. It's like it's 12 days from today, 11 days. But, I mean, I never thought we'd be in this position to be in 240,000 in such a short time. But we're asking everybody to try their utmost to try to help come up with this. We have these machines here. If you can give whatever euro you can. There's this one here. There's one downstairs. But we also have this scheme here. It's the Friend of the Temple scheme, Temple Builder, Spiritual Guardian, Founding Pillar, Legacy Devotee, Eternal Visionary. So I want to give out this to everybody, because if you can help at this time, it goes from 200 euros to 10,000 euros. If you can help at this time, you'll be honored forever in our new temple. We will have your name on the wall, but we'll also have all these special ceremonies that we will do for different times, like for 1 year. Like for instance, Sugati Kapoor is going to talk about Janmashtami now, which is coming up on the 16th, which is a huge festival. But you'll be able to have your own personal darshan on that day, a personal arti, and also every month, at least for a year, we will be doing a special arti for all the people who have helped. And there will also be a book of remembrance for everyone who has helped at this last stage, because it's been going on very, very long, but actually 5 years ago we really kind of concentrated to try to do this. So we're in this and there's been lots of difficulties to get to this stage, I can assure you. It didn't just happen overnight. It's a push, it's a shove, it's trying to convince people. And the particular piece of land, it needs to have 2 surveys done on it, but it has planning permission. We talked to the planners, and they're agreed that we're going to have a temple on it. Like, I mean, it's unheard of. You know, where would you get a temple? There's no planning. You can get a house, you get a hotel, you can get a factory or something, and the price of land for that is ginormous. For a hotel or anything, it's like £1 million an acre. You know, so these are all very expensive items. But somehow or other, as Titikshi Prabhu was talking about in miracles, there was this miracle that this actual planning is on this land for something very similar to what we want. And then to find planners who were willing to change all the things, you know, the planning, it was like a holistic center or whatever. And they said, no, it's okay, it's fine. You know, like we were falling off our chairs as well. Because we told them we want a temple, we want this. And they weren't objecting, like, you know, it was incredible. We weren't expecting that. But now we have to kind of do our part as well, if possible. So between now on the 14th, because I'm going to ring up the guy in the loan place, he's going to go in, he's our kind of I forget what he calls, the guy who puts it to the board, to the panel. So I'm going to ring him up on the 15th to tell him how much we have. You know, I'm really happy that we're 240, but it may not swing us the amount that we need. We need to get a certain amount to buy this land. So anyway, with that in mind, as I say, there's these different chaps that you can help between now and then. But also there's an opportunity, there's a QR code there where you can become one of these patrons. And this will make a huge difference in us actually getting this land for Krishna. Jai, Hare Krishna. We didn't have anyway, so if everyone just takes one home, you never know, your uncle might give you a big donation or something and say, oh, that's for the temple, whatever. But please, if you can help. Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, Hare Krishna everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Are you all sleepy? So just say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Ram. Hare Ram. Ram Ram. Hare Hare. So I'll continue for one more minute what Prabhuji said, that if we all really require one big temple which Ireland doesn't have till now, if we require a Goshala, if we require Radha Krishna deities, and if we require future for our upcoming generation, please support this project. For now, you can even donate. Maybe sometimes students are here, they want to support, but they don't have much. But if you don't have much, if you can take up small service. Those who are working, they can give some big service. It's not small or big, it's just efforts what you want to do. So you can give either on the machine, or you can choose any of this pattern, any of these service, and your name will be on the wall for forever. Till the time temple will be there, your name will be there. Okay, that means you helped the organization to get that land. Okay, Hare Krishna. So we have one more very big festival coming in after Rath Yatras, which we did yesterday and last week. Who were in the last week's Rath Yatra? Who was there? Okay, so few of us missed that opportunity. So we have one very big opportunity coming in, which is Shri Krishna Janmashtami Mahamotsav ki Jai. So we have already booked for 1,000 tickets. More than 1,000 tickets are already booked. We are still Haribol. So how many of you haven't booked your tickets yet? Only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Anyone? You all have your tickets for Janmashtami? Your ticket for Janmashtami? Okay, for you all, we just kept very small donation of €5 for now. We have some free sponsor tickets still there. But for all those who are here in Sunday Feast, if you use Sunday Feast as a discount code, you will get 50% off. So this is only for those who are coming in Sunday Feast. So, but you can give this benefit to all those who are not here, but in your friend list. Okay, just share with them. Sunday Feast, SUNDAYFEAST. Okay, Sunday Feast. Just apply that code. But all the money will go for the program. Okay, and if we save something, we will give for land. It is not for any other profit. We are not incurring any profit on that because we booked a place which cost us few thousands for the place and then other expenses as well. We just want to bear that cost. Okay? No profit. Hare Krishna. So those who doesn't have ticket, please book the tickets today. It's only valid for 24 hours. This code. Last year we booked around 1,000 tickets in just 2 days. Last 2 days. Every time we forget, but please book because we want to serve you guys better. We want to prepare prasad. We want to make all the arrangements there. So we, as per the tickets, we will make arrangements. Okay? Hare Krishna. Now we will have Narsimha prayers and then prasad in restaurant. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
More louder, please. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I would like to mention one point for everyone that as Prabhuji said, Janmashtami is coming, means this is the Krishna's birthday, and we are all fortunate soul in this human life that we have that chance to celebrate Krishna's birthday. Because this material world, we never know what will happen in 1 second. Yeah? So take this opportunity and celebrate Krishna's birthday and don't come empty hand, because usually when we go for birthday, we don't go empty hand. We bring flowers, fruits, whatever, you know. But this time we need to make for Krishna's house. That's called, how we call in India for Krishna's house? Mandir. What we call? मंदिर. मंदिर मीन्स वेयर इज हमारे मन को धीर मिलता है, ठीक है? सो दिस इज कृष्णा's हाउस. सो डोंट लूज दिस opportunity in this human life to bring something for Krishna, and with this time we need some Lakshmi. What's called money for Lakshmi, and Lakshmi's main seva is to be served to Krishna. Yeah? So when you serve Krishna, when you give this Lakshmi to Krishna back, then Lakshmi is happy. And your life never will be Lakshmi less there in your life. Yeah? So please take this opportunity and bring some Lakshmi for Krishna's house. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Remember, never come empty hand in Krishna's birthday, okay? Hare Krishna. So we will sing now Lakshmi prayers. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste
Namaste Hare Krishna. So we will have more 10 minutes bhajan kirtan. At the same time, it will be prasad distributed downstairs in the restaurant. So those who want to enjoy bhajan, they can sit. If somebody want to take prasad, they can go downstairs.